75-25 for the SWAC, 70-30 in terms of the MEAC, or that was the last percentage breakdown in terms of what that looks like. But I want to do a little comparison so you get a chance of what does that look like. Obviously, you have the major bowls, and you've seen what they do as they off the chart in terms of the New Year's Six, $14 million, significant type of money. But you see how long they've been in business for the Rose Bowl, going back 100 years in terms of what they do there and how they're tied into the CFP and how they have really engulfed all that money. But if you look at some of the other bowls out there, there was an article that talked about the Quick Lane Bowl, really focusing on New Mexico State, which it was encouraging fans to purchase tickets. And it wasn't so much about purchasing tickets. Obviously, you want to support your team, but a lot of it would maybe at the distance that a lot of fans wouldn't necessarily travel for a 6-6 Aggies team that was playing a 6-6 Bowling Green Falcons team, if you would, coming out of the MAC all the way in Detroit. So they were asking fans to support the team that did make a bowl and purchase tickets so they could donate them to Detroit area youth. That's a great thing for the youth to get a chance to get out and see some college football. But I wanted to get into some of the money. When you talk about this particular matchup, when you see what was going on here, three things to know about the Bowling Green as they entering into at that time the Quick Lane Bowl, which was this past week if you would, a week ago, I should say. The university closed travel cost them $400,000 travel to Detroit. When you talk about the Celebration Bowl, one thing is unique. You heard last year they got the deal with Delta, actually flew the teams in there to Atlanta, and that was at no cost to the teams. So you didn't have to worry about that type of cost where you see it doing $400K for Detroit. And so some interesting things there when you think about it. But this is really it was interesting when I seen this, when you talk about these payouts. Because a lot of folks talk about $1 million, $2, $3 million payouts for these bowls. One thing people don't realize, a lot of times these bowls have a bigger number in there, but they'll charge you, as you see, for your travel, your hotel stay, food and things of that nature while you in there. They'll also charge you for the band in terms of the band and who you bring in there. They'll charge you a ticket price for the band members in the stand. And so the payout for the Quick Lane Bowl was $150K. Yeah, let me say that again. The payout for that bowl game was $150K, and which is why you see the fact that they were encouraging the fans to buy tickets, because this is where it can get a little benefit to the team. New Mexico State athletic director was quoted saying that the university will retain 100% of the revenue from the first 2,000 tickets it sells, 50% of the next 2,000 tickets, which by New Mexico wants its fan base to purchase all of these tickets, because if they did, they could recoup $420K in terms of what that means. So just to give you some indications of what's out there and why you really need to look at the contracts, or at least get some more information of some generalities of these various bowl games to get an understanding of what that looks like. So just on the surface, I'll go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of what that looks like when you see, especially some of these small bowls, in terms of what they bring to the table when you compare? Because a lot of folks will instantly go to the larger bowl games and say, hey, they're paying out this. And just so one of the things we always like to talk about only is the business side. So you see some of the numbers that go out there and get an understanding what that looks like. What are your thoughts?
Tremendously enlightening to really find out some of the ancillary costs. I think that those are things that you almost oftentimes take for granted, Dr. Gill, that you know, those the charging for the band and things of that nature. So you never sort of calculate those into what goes into the bigger picture. But it's fascinating to see the numbers finally, you know, out there for all of us to really grasp and understand, you know, what a jewel that you have within the Celebration Bowl, I think.
Yeah, and you see the numbers continue to move up, which always helps both in terms of attendance and the ratings, which is more powerful. So when you sit back in the table, it gives you a chance to continue to push for bigger payouts. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of just getting a different framework the bowl landscape, how varied it can be at times.
Yeah, you often wonder, you look at all of the activities that take place, and then you look at, who's transporting the group here, who's transporting the group here, who's paying for this dinner, who's providing gift baskets for the team. Those are all costs that are buried underneath the umbrella of the bowl cost. So, and you take that into consideration, and then you wonder, does the bowl game have the sustainability of growth and volume over the course of 3 to 5 years to kind of, eat a lot of those ancillary costs down, such as transportation costs, hotel costs, dining costs, their awards costs, or whatever. I think in some bowls, some of the bigger bowls, I think some of the players get gifts or whatever. You wonder where that's covered, what pot that's covered in. So you get all those little, I guess, trinkets into that big basket of bowl costs, and then it gives you a different insight on, is this a viable bowl game? And like CB said, all that in consideration, it gives you more of an appreciation for not only the performance of the Celebration Bowl, but the growth that you've seen over the last 5-6 years.
All right, hello, good evening. Welcome to a live edition of the ONG Strike Zone. I'm Brian Fulford. That's Kelvin Rozier. That's Kofi Hemingway. We are the ONG Strike Zone. It's a pleasure to be on with you tonight. Kelvin, Kofi, how are we doing this evening?
I'm gonna let the man who talk all the time talk.
That will be you. All right. Love you guys. All is well for right now. So praise the Lord. Hallelujah. We here. Hallelujah.
Man,
we good.
I got a lot going on, B, as you heard. Yeah, I got a lot going on, but we're gonna power through this show here.
Nice. I am dealing with who knows technical issues with so I don't know audio, visual. I don't know how I sound. So I'm gonna apologize in advance.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Okay, it just doesn't feel that way based on what I'm hearing.
Because you got on that darn blue. Wear some orange and green. It's the orange and green, the ONG Strike Zone, sir. Every time I come, boy, you be wearing the blue. The basketball season is over now. So what's the excuse?
Corporate logo. We
and
are
didn't
even
win a championship.
What?
Didn't even bring the trophy home this time.
Still, this ain't Indianapolis. We ain't the Colts.
You know what?
You wearing Jackson State colors on tonight. I'm starting to get mad.
I'm wearing what?
I didn't used to hate Jackson State, but they've been getting on my nerves lately. And you got on Jackson State colors, looking like the Sonic Boom of the South.
All right. During the next, how about this? If I this on is there, I'll put the hat on.
Now you mismatch.
Hopefully, see, you can't please some Negroes. That's all right. I'll fix and throw on some more show appropriate gear a little bit. Hey, quick shout out to the people in the chat room joining us already on YouTube. Kenneth Rozier, somebody you might know there, Kelvin. Montre Bennett, J Mac, Mary 305, Tamara T, Melissa Wilson, Tommy Gaucher. Let me see. So, Bull, Kevin Butler's in there. So shout out to everybody jumping in early in the chat room. It is March Madness, March Sadness for our basketball program. We will
mention
talk
them
about that.
anymore tonight.
No, we have to.
Jesus.
No, I'm sorry. If you want to sit it out, you can.
No,
but it has to be
I
talked
got
about.
something to say. Let's talk about it.
All right.
Let's talk.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
I mentioned it because right now going on, it's a big weekend in basketball and HBCU land. Obviously, I'm sitting here watching a little bit of the women's SWAC tournament. Obviously, Jackson State is playing tonight against Grambling State. The men are playing. You got MEAC happening. You got NAIA tournament. You got Division II tournament. All kinds of basketball, which we aren't a part of this weekend. So we will get into that. We've also got some sports to talk about. Softball's kind of been off the last week, but they've got a big series coming up this weekend against Jackson State. That's a home series, I believe. Baseball had a good weekend. They took 2 out of 3. Atlanta came back and lost a close game, I believe, earlier this week against Ball State. Bowling had a good weekend. FAMU Bowlers, they had a very good weekend as well. And we got some the start of spring practice. The spring football season has already begun. Hopefully, you guys have had a chance to check out a little bit of our 2023 spring football preview show that myself, Kelvin, and Marcus did. Dropped it on the date Tuesday afternoon, and you had a chance to react. Kelvin, have you heard any? What's kind of the reviews or reactions that you've heard from that podcast out there?
No, I hadn't had a chance to talk to anybody. I haven't been answering any calls actually because, like I say, I got quite a bit going on. So I don't have any feedback right now. I did notice that it was pretty well viewed though, and I went back and watched it, and I thought it was real informational. I've seen some of the other analysis, and of course nobody does like the ONG strike zone. So I like for I see in the chat folks are chiming in. Y'all chime in and let us know.
True that. Kofi, we missed you on that one, but have you had a
Y'all
chance
did an
to
excellent
review
job.
Yep. Marcus, all credit to Marcus Green helping to pull that together and make that happen. So shout out to Marcus, and like I said, hopefully it's everywhere. Yep, that means phone calls later on in the show, as we're gonna
I
have
thought
any
Jesus
guests.
was on the main line.
Hey, well, we're gonna hear
Tell
from
them what you
Rattler Nation
want.
today.
I was
Tell
finna
him.
tell him what I want.
We're gonna hear from Rattler Nation tonight. So we don't have any guests lined up, so it's us and you, Nation. So y'all got real shy the last time we opened up the phone lines. So this time we got plenty to talk about. We also, if you all followed and saw the 220 Club, we tweeted it out. Our VP Tiffany Dawn Sykes dropped some. I thought it was a pretty informative session with the folks. So there's a lot of notes in there that I took all kinds of notes, guys. I took notes. So we got all kinds of notes that we can talk about from that session.
Nerd.
So we got a lot of things we can start with. I'm gonna start it off like this, Kofi. Kofi, I'm gonna give you the first swing. I'm gonna throw it at you and let you get the first swing. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about first, Kofi?
Well, I want to get this out of the way. Don't keep the screen. I need to see everybody. Thank you. All right, but seriously, what's on my mind right now is a few years ago, Kellen Winslow came in and with his arrogant self, he said FAMU athletics was broken. And he got the natives riled up. Ears, steam, and the fangs came out. And we was ready to fight. But the reality is we were broken. I don't necessarily know if he was necessarily the one to fix it. But here we are years later. And the question number one, I can say football has changed for the better. They have the right leadership. They have energy. They have momentum. They've got a lot going on. Rattler Nation is proud of that. Baseball, they got energy. They don't have everything they want, but they have energy. And Coach Shoup, I know for a fact, wants to be here, and he's doing the very best that he can. Even our new softball coach, energy, softball. Everybody is like excited. I don't know why we're not charging the money for the games, but there's energy there. Those girls, I feel in my heart of hearts, they want to win. Even tennis, I think we need to obviously open up the recruitment a little bit more and get a higher caliber player to come to FAMU, but we've got to really look at the program and, see what we can tweak to start attracting better quality tennis athletes. The lack of restrooms out there has got to change. That ain't what I'm going to talk about. What I want to talk about is this basketball program. And if Willie Simmons came to us, how long has Coach McCullum been here?
Six years.
Okay. So
5 full seasons, 6 years.
Okay. 5 full seasons. In 5 full seasons, if Willie Simmons went 4-7, 4-7, 3-7, I'm sorry, 3-8, 3-8, 4-6, 4-7, 5-6, would he have a job? Hello? That's a question.
Probably not.
No. We haven't had a winning season in basketball. And we've got to really look at why we didn't have a winning season in basketball. Coach Simmons came in and he changed the culture. We know recruits. We know assistant coaches. We know even when stuff go wrong, we are all on it and over it because we care. I'm not convinced that we really give a damn about FAMU basketball right now because we've been losing for a long time. It's like we have accepted. If you hang around, you'll see what I'm ranting about. Just shut your mouth and listen. We have sat right here and allowed our program, because FAMU people are proud people. We love to brag. We love to talk trash. We love to run our mouth. But what is there to brag about when it comes to what we are bringing to the table? A winning season we have not seen in men's basketball in forever. It's been a while. I can say the same really for the women. So we have to ask the question for real. If we keep him around, and we know we got budgetary restraints and stuff like that, but if we keep McCullum, what is that bringing? Is it going to shift? Is it going to change? What is going to change? And so we have to look inward because, again, with basketball, we haven't even won a regular season championship since 1978. And even football-wise, we haven't won an outright conference championship since 2001.
It's been that long?
So
2001?
It's been for an outright championship. Technically, we kind of won the championship a couple of years, I think in 2019, but we weren't eligible, so we really didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
and we tied in 2010.
And as far as Rattler Nation is concerned, we've got to look inward and really define what we want to happen, what we desire to see going forward. Because right now, with what we have from our basketball program, I'm not sure in my heart of hearts if Coach McCullum believes that he has what he needs to win. I'm not sure if Coach Pillow feels the same. I think that she's got a little bit more leeway, but to be honest, it's not a definite yes. Yes, sir.
What is it you believe she needs to win?
First, you need to get you some players. Personnel changes. A good player can make a mediocre coach look great. And the players that we are getting are almost like they're bottom. I'm not saying they bottom of the barrel, but they close. We don't have, really a player right now that can take over the game. And just to give you the level of momentum, Brian, who are our assistant coaches on the men's team?
In terms of the number,
Name an
their
assistant coach. Name an assistant coach.
All right, I'm gonna pull up the
Coach Brown.
No, you don't have to pull up. That said it right there. You don't know who they are.
Well, you shouldn't. Know. I don't agree that you should.
I disagree. I can look at
basketball.
Alabama. I disagree.
In basketball, we're talking basketball. Do you know all the assistants at Florida State? Do you know all the assistants at?
I'm not a Florida State fan. Well, I'm not a Florida State fan.
I'm just saying, as a, I don't think
we knew the darn baseball coaches. We knew the assistant coaches. We knew Anthony Robinson was an assistant coach. We knew the pitching coach, the guy that's at TCC, right? We knew them.
Brian Harry, but they're from the community too. They were born and raised here too. So the
25% of people who are diehards, the percent who are diehards.
Name a football assistant coach. Name.
I think football is. I think football
assistant coach.
Football, I believe, is different than baseball and basketball.
A football assistant coach.
Yes, Coach Spady, James Spady, for one. There's one.
Name another one.
And Coach Smitty.
Name another one.
I mean, Coach Johnson, Troy Johnson. You gonna quiz me? You quiz. But football is different, though. Football is different, though, Kofi.
No, it's
football
not.
is different. Yes, it is.
I
think
I'll
tell you why. I'll tell you why it's different. It's different because in basketball you have and it's similar in baseball. You have the CEO of that organization, and he's the one that is usually standing. He's the one that's visible. He's the one that talks post-game, press game, pre-game. The assistants rarely talk. Football, though, because football is managed as part of 3 different unit somewhat, you get to hear from the quote unquote vice presidents, OC, the DC. You know, those guys almost have a following because they have a direct hands-on impact with what the head coach wants to do. So yes, we get to know the assistant coaches.
Okay, so stop. Can you stop? Let me say this. Who is the recruiting coordinator for FAMU basketball right now?
That's okay. So see, now that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know
Who's the
how that's
Stop.
usually
Just stop. Just stop.
usually
Just stop for a minute. Stop for a second. Stop for 1 second. Who's the recruiting coordinator for FAMU football?
Coach Riz. Again, different sport.
It's not. Coach Riz.
It
before
is.
Coach Riz, listen to me. Before Coach Riz got to FAMU, we didn't know who the recruiting coordinator was. We knew that people had little sections and stuff like that. Coach Riz put himself out there as the man. And so now people look to him. There is an energy, there is a flow that is coming out of there. The basketball team ain't trying to sell the darn program. The people that we have in there, listen, they're not trying to sell the program. They're not trying to put themselves out there as an elite HBCU program. They're not trying. The same level of effort when Coach Simmons got here, I could honestly say that Coach Simmons wanted the very best players he could possibly get. I knew that from job one. I knew when he surrounded himself with Coach Billy Roll and other talented coaches, he really wanted to put his best foot forward to try to win, not next year, not 2 years from now. He was trying to win that year. I felt like there was an energy surge. When have you felt like that regarding men's basketball?
So Kofi, you done got your rant in, and I've been quiet. So I'm gonna talk just some facts, right? Not that I don't disagree with a lot more, much of what you pointed out, but I got to point some things out too. You talking about in the men's basketball case particularly, someone who ended up having to deal with sanctions the first 3 years, couldn't even go to postseason, and dealt with COVID, didn't complain, built his program, built his team, and he was coach of the year last time he left the MEAC, and he had a player of the year last year in Randolph that someone he recruited out of high school and developed. That's just facts. I agree with you in terms of the basketball program and from a university standpoint, what do we want to be? We force those kids to spend the entire month of November and December on the road getting paychecks. And those paychecks don't even go back to the program, even when they go over what they are projected in revenue to get. We kick them out of the gym and make them practice at crazy hours because it's academic and they're not, and they can't have access after hours. You know, there are so many different hurdles that coaches typically don't have to deal with, and Coach Simmons particularly don't have to deal with from a support scenario. Now, I'm already on record saying Coach did a horrible job this year. I would push back against you in terms of talent. Now, where I would agree is that we didn't have shooters outside of one, and you didn't play that one. If you look at the kids that he recruited this year who coming in, those kids are coming from good programs and are pretty good players coming in from the high school, one from the high school, one from community college. We did get a kid from the point guard from TCC last year. Didn't play him enough. Now, when you talk about S's and O's and you talk about the coaching staff, I know those guys. I don't want to put nobody on blast, but I'm gonna give my opinion. I don't know that our budget allows us to bring in higher caliber assistants. Where I totally agree with you at though is I don't think they're involved enough. They're not present enough, both with Rattler Nation at large as well as definitely the community. You know, you talk about Jamie and Robinson and Willie and Dez. Well, honestly, what do they have in common other than they're really strong coaches with a high? I don't think the coaches in basketball don't want to compete. Don't want to win. I don't think that's the case at all. But I do think that they embrace Rattler Nation openly, and they use it to their advantage. They learn how to leverage that. I will say, and this is nothing new. We talked about. I mean, I talked about. You know, when we had Coach Pillow on the show. You know, we got all these kids from Canada and so forth. That's all well and good. You say the state of Florida ain't a basketball state. Well, I mean, you say that, but you can't go 3 wins and 6 wins though, two in consecutive seasons and say that. You know, Coach McCullough has had some success. He's not out of conference. No. Out of, other than he did upset that Iowa State game what I was talking about, but out of conference, it's been less successful. But there's been hurdles there, and I can't overstate. Not only did he have practice when he was on APR sanctions, that had nothing to do with him or the players that were there. It cut practice time. It cut scholarships. We didn't even have any home out of conference games season. So he have some built-in things, and he like I say, he was loyal. He didn't complain about it, and then when we came out of sanctions, thanks to him, frankly, we were competitive in the conference, both MEAC and SWAC. So don't kill. In this case, don't kill the mosquito with that. I think he's earned the right for another season, and I think Coach Pillow, we gave her a 3-year contract. She's earned the right for another season. Now, am I optimistic that we'll see dramatic improvement? I have to see it. I hope so. I wouldn't put my money on it to date, but I think do right by them and the kids in the program. Do right by them and the kids in the program. They get another year, and they understand fully. They got a year to produce enough.
Can I add about the assistant coaches? I think what I like about Coach Riz, and you brought about the fact, Kofi, that we didn't know who the recruiting coordinator was previously. Coach Riz is a go-getter. He's a hustler. He knows how to talk. He knows where and what's going on in the community of football. Our assistant coaches, I don't know to what level of hustlers they are. But I will say this. There are staff that, and whether it be our staff, we don't have enough people, or we don't have, like, for example, I don't know if we have, I'm looking at our listing. We have 3 assistant coaches, period. We don't have a director of basketball ops. Basketball ops might be the equivalent of your Coach Riz in basketball terms. Okay, so that might be your recruiting coordinator. That's more of your in-house. There's also one of your staff that usually is your main recruiter. Okay, but usually staffs recruit they all have a job to recruit. That's the thing. They all have a job to recruit. Now, I will say this as it relates to the student athletes, right? I know because I coach at a school where we have high-level Division I players. I can speak to a young man, a junior, that we all summer. I have seen at several games. I have seen schools from. I have seen mid-major and major schools at our games, wearing their gear, sitting with the family. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they come up and speak to the coach. You guys tell me, and I've had other people tell me about these great games and great programs around the city of Tallahassee. How many times do you see our assistant coaches at these high school games around the community in Tallahassee? We got a kid right out of Tallahassee that's going to the University of Alabama. How many times did our
and another one
assistant
going to
coaches?
Missouri.
Okay, and another one going to Missouri. How many times did our coaches sit in the
And
stands at those games?
both places are rattlers, by the way.
One of the okay, see, I didn't even know
rattlers.
about the Missouri. Let me tell you about the Alabama one. Among all the list of offers by 24/7 Sports, I looked in there. I looked in there and say, did we offer? We didn't even offer the kid. So to me, as knowledgeable and as guys as our assistant coaches might be, there's a problem with the fact that look, we ain't out there hustling. You brought up a good point. If we offered LeBron James Bronny, right, we should be talking about that on social media. Our assistants should be commenting when Bronny has a good game. Hey, great game, Bronny. You know, love to see it. You know, we should be commenting about those things. So when you say our program doesn't have this new era of recruiting tool is that people use social media, I don't know if our staff is hip like that. I mean, you know what? Let's be real. I mean, look, I don't know TikTok. I'm Mason, but so I would be, for example, if TikTok or Instagram Reels is what the kids see and what people follow, I wouldn't be your guy. Now, you want me to do some stuff on Twitter? I can handle Twitter. I can put a few Instagram posts together, but we got to find a way to engage better with whatever it is that it's going to take to get a higher grade of talent to want to come to FAMU.
All right, so here's the thing. When you're the leader of a program, you got to be able to look at the program from all facets. You got to look at sometimes the things that are trending. What are the successful teams doing that I'm not doing? Let me look around even my own campus and look at what the successful teams are doing. Like Coach Gokhan doesn't have a strong social media presence, but he knows the best players in Tallahassee. He knows the best players in this region. Huh?
He run camps year round. He run camps year
so
round.
He's
all
got
the
a
coaches
handle,
and players know him. Yeah.
He's got a handle and a relationship with players that can play and help his team win on a local, regional, state, national, and international level. Coach Gokhan has a system that is working, and he has 2 titles. Coach McCullum, God bless him, because I really, of the coaches that I had, he has been hospitable. He has been cooperative in every way. But if I don't know how to do something, I have to hire or find someone that can do it. There are several artists that are out there that don't necessarily tweet, but they hire somebody to tweet for them. They hire somebody to develop momentum for them. They hire somebody that understands social media and builds the kind of momentum that you're going to need to put your program and sell your program. And we are not selling our program, which is why we have less than 1,000 people at every home game. One of the reasons why. The other reason why, because our people don't like to watch our teams lose. But
hire with money. Hire with money.
You find a way to make it work. Find a way.
Okay.
You got to get with your people, get with your supporters, sound the alarm. Hey, guys, I don't know how to do this, but I would get with Coach Simmons. If I'm a Cullum, I'd get with Coach Simmons, be like, hey, bro, I need to step up in this area. What advice can you give me? You got a whole marketing major, and Coach Simmons got a degree in marketing and stuff. So you see that aspect coming out with this program, and you see Coach Devin stepping in there and selling the program. We have a good tandem, and there are people that wait for their videos, wait for their stuff to come out. I like the fact that they put them out there with the shoes and that sort of thing, but there's not an ongoing social media presence to sell the program.
So just to again put some information out there in context. I've got an email. I've talked to some folks, and I'm gonna say this: you will be surprised how many other coaches are facing adversity and shortage of staff and support over the last year or two. Compared, because when Coach McCullum got here, he had a guy. He left and went back to. He had a director of operations plus his 3 assistants when he first got here, but the guy went back to Oregon after a couple of years. You know, volleyball has a head coach and a part-time OPS person. Softball has a head coach who was just named and a volunteer coach who hope to be a full-time shortly. Now they still are successful and they do a lot of things with camps and communities and they producing in spite of. And so because they producing, basketball, has to produce. However, we gotta produce.
I agree.
All right. Our administration gotta produce. I get so upset, I know Brian brought up about what was said about by the AD in terms of losing money with those champion packages at the first 3 levels, the most popular levels. We got to do better.
We'll talk about that. Yeah,
we got to do better. Internally, we don't treat athletics the way it needs to be treated, and we don't support the coaches the way it needs to be. But yet we want to hold them accountable and hold their feet to the fire, which I'm all for. But fair is fair and right is right. And I would tell you, it's some things I'm not trying. I don't want to put nobody out there, but we've got to give more resources to all these Olympic sports. Football's winning because they got everything they want. All right, and in terms of he got more staff than any staff that's ever been here, and he deserved it. He earned it. Don't get me wrong. You take care of the cash cow. I have no problems with what the investments we made. And we need to continue, and we still need to up it up some more, to be honest. But we can't leave the other sports behind. We can't do it. That's my only issue.
Let me add to that, because one of the talking points from Tiffany Dawn Sykes at the 220 Club, and I wrote it down specifically because I knew we would figure a way to tie it in. We have the bare minimum of sports at Florida A&M University to remain a different program. 14. Okay, right. And as she stated, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, all of the sports must have the necessary support to compete, not just win, but compete at the Division I level, so that football can compete at the D1 level. Let me run that back again. We have to support, and what she was trying to say is we have 13 other sports that we have to invest in that need the necessary support so that our cash cow, our major sport, football, can maintain and stay at Division I. Because if we lose a program, guess what also falls? Football. We lose a program, we no longer D1, right? So we can't have that happen. And so as she says, she makes it a point of her job is to generate as much revenue so that she can coaches. She made a point of pointing out that that changes the softball scheduling. It requires more money now. That was something Coach Patterson talked about, how they went from doing the double headers on Saturdays. Well, now it's one game Friday, one game Saturday, one Sunday. That's extra expense because that's an extra day in the hotel, extra day of travel, right? There's also sports in which she pointed out, and I'm curious, Kelvin, maybe if you know off, their NCAA has increased the number of certain sports can have. So we've talked about it. Our basketball team, we are understaffed there. Women's basketball is
Baseball,
understaffed. Baseball's understaffed. Softball's
softball,
understaffed. So when
bowling.
we talk about everybody's understaffed, every program is understaffed, but we still want to compete. We want football, right? You all want football to be number one, then we have to find a way to financially support. And she talked about, yes, raise, change prices on the investing in champions package, and there are other things that are to increase revenue. But at the end of the day, it falls on Rattler Nation to also kick in their support by season ticket packages. You know, EA put in the comments, he said, of the three of us, who has specifically donated to basketball to make things better? Kelvin, I know you bought season tickets for basketball. You go to basketball
Absolutely.
games. You know, I know
Yeah,
you
and,
do.
and you know, and then other little small things when they come up, and of course,
I have donated
I
in the
contribute.
past. I may not have
I could
donated to
I
basketball
contribute
this
on
year,
my
but I've
level.
donated in the
It's,
past. Yeah,
I
on my
contribute on
level,
my
right?
level year
Right,
round.
exactly.
That's right.
And if that level, if you said, hey, if my level is $25 a month going straight to the basketball athletic fund, hey, that's your level, great. Do it that way. You know, I mean, so we're, you know, at the same time, it's a battle from two fronts that has to be done. We want to hold our coaches accountable, but and we're asking our coaches to be creative, but at the same time, we're not supplying our coaches with the minimum to compete. You
Look,
said do more, Kofi. That's where you said we
there's
needed to get to.
That's
there's a
true.
lot of work that
You
needs to
can't
be
fire.
done.
You can't fire your way out of. You can't fire your way out of to become a true blue blood athletic program where you win in year out. You can have flash in the pans, where you win for a season because you got the right mix of players and so forth. But have a sustained quality program, you can't fire your way into that. You have to
No,
invest your way into
Exactly.
that.
You can't.
We got to
right.
understand that.
Next person, what are you offering the next person? For the crowd out there that says we need to move on from this coach and move on from that coach, what is the next person walking into? Really? Are they walking into an increased budget? Doubt it. Right? So I mean, if we had a booster with enough money to drop 500,000 or $1 million to get rid of the staff, okay, that same donor probably would have donated some money to help improve the programs. See how that works? We don't have that person. So
I think we
Yeah,
do.
we do. We got to develop it, and I think some of that is happening. I know some of that. I know some things are happening in the background where, you know, the folks like us who tired and fired up and got kids who kind of grown now, and we at the next stage. There's a group of rattlers who putting their money where their mouth is, specific to athletics. That's the key. I don't think we've ever got our board and our administration to consistently commit, and our foundation for that matter, consistently commit to athletics. Um, you know, and so how long I've been talking about a athletic capital campaign? Can
Since
we
we
start?
almost every
Can
other
we?
since
show,
Can
before
we
we
at
at
least
started.
least
start
once
it?
a month, at least once a
Yeah,
month. Yeah, at least
do a
once.
solid do a solid phase, right? You ain't even got to announce it right now, but do a solid phase, man. Put the plan together, and then in 2 years from now, you got that big donor and stuff. Then you can say, hey, we kicking off a capital athletic campaign. We got X amount already, and we've been in a solid mode for the last 2 years. There's ways to do things. But the key is to do things. The frustration I have is that, and the coaches too, for that matter, and we had student athletes on our show too. And the student athletes have said the same thing. We have, as a university, we have to do for athletics. And yeah, it costs money, and we say the same tired lines all the time. Well, the state of Florida don't give no money, and we ain't got no $1 million. We're good at talking about what we don't have. You know what we sorry at? We sorry at doing stuff, right? Say this is the issue. This is the cards we dealt. Let's play them, baby. Let's do something.
Hey, let's do this. We're over on our break. Let's take a break for a second.
Yeah.
Come back, talk about some big announcements that the FAMU Athletics just announced today. Maybe even talk about how that might help. Also, I do want to get into some of these comments from AD VP Sykes. And also, we want to open it up for you guys out there watching the show. Give you guys a chance to call in and share your thoughts and comments. So let's take a break, quick short break, and come back with more of the ONG Strike Zone right after these words.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less. He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Brian, Kelvin, and Kofi here. Give a shout out to, remember, you guys following us. Hit that thumbs up button if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Facebook. If you would, please go and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're following the ONG Strike Zone on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's at ONG Strike Zone. Download that Jericho Broadcast Network's app, please. My JBM, my BCSN. You can find it on the Apple App Store, Google Play as well. So, one of the big announcements that just dropped, where is it? Hell, I just had it. It's right there on the main page of the site.
Which one?
Ocho
the
Cinco.
one that dropped at 6 o'clock. Here we go. There we go. Welcome to the highest of hills, Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson, as a athletics ambassador and consultant. So Chad, as I'm trying to pull up the article here, we all know that Chad is a I don't know, where did he go to college at, but wherever he went to
Oregon
college,
State. He went to junior college. He went to junior college, then Oregon State.
Okay.
But he wanted to
Of
come to
course,
FAMU.
oh wow. Okay,
But he had a grade.
Yeah, wow. Had an 11-year career in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a Miami, Florida native. Drafted in the second round by the Bengals in 2001. Since retirement, Chad has he's been very pro FAMU. He is, very pro FAMU, and so what I like here, the quote here from VP Sykes. Anyone familiar with Chad knows that he has always been a great ambassador for FAMU. It's time to make it official. I am happy that we can reach an agreement to formalize his role with the university. Again, he's been named ambassador and consultant for Florida A&M University Athletics Department. In the role, Johnson will participate in special projects to support and advance the state of FAMU athletics as identified by the athletic director. Now, one of the things that I already noticed, right, and if you are on Instagram, right, Chad has a great social media following. I noticed on Instagram, couldn't have been more than 30 minutes since the announcement was made. Like, our FAMU Athletics page collaborated or did a co-post with Chad. There was like nearly 17,000 likes already in 30 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen a FAMU Athletics post. And hey, Josh and his team, they do great work. But there's never been a post that I've seen hit 16, 17,000 likes in a 30-minute span. And that was the first thing that caught my attention. So it's like, wow, okay, that's big. What do you think, Kelvin? What do you think this role potentially could yield for FAMU if we, or FAMU athletics?
Well, first, let me say, my previous rant. This is what my previous rant was about. Do something, right? Chad has been out here for the last, I don't know how many years, talking about how he would like to be a part of the 100, and he's always talked about his affinity and how he used to go to the OVC, and his family ties, and some of the guys he played with going to FAM and all that good stuff. So to make it official lets me know that at least it appears that we have someone who has a keen eye for branding. You know, just like you talked about how many likes are. I mean, to have him there at the he's been down at the OBC the last what three years, 2 years we played.
Yep.
So and talk with the team and everything. So it just makes a lot of sense. I know folks are asking why not as a coach. Why not as a coach? Because he don't want to do it. Number one, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He has a young child. He got a lot of kids, but he got a young child and a big family. So I'm pretty sure he's not ready to make that kind of commitment. And frankly, we don't pay enough. So
yeah, I want everybody that's out there in Rattler land that's watching this here show. I want y'all to put hashtag do something. Do something. Hashtag do something. Don't just sit there like a knot on a log. Hashtag do something. You know, I mean,
so what the potential is, real, just to finish my thought, the potential is, you know, we have Ken Riley, a Cincinnati Bengal great, who's going into the Hall of Fame. Chad is a Cincinnati Bengal great. I'm sure there'll be a way for us to leverage a relationship with the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals definitely got to give us some money now, but we need to have a plan for the ask and the opportunity. The opportunity is now. The opportunity is now to do something. So hopefully we'll leverage Ken Riley going into the Hall of Fame and Chad being a Bengal great in order to get something from the NFL Cincinnati Bengals. Number one. Number two, we're a Nike company attached with LBJ. Famous athletes know each other, and you know they start trends, right? You know, Chad already rocks just about every licensed vendor who has FAMU gear. He does it already. So I'm sure there's some opportunity potentially to leverage that. And then if you have some kind of big gala for athletic fundraising and so forth, and you could get a LBJ and Chad, and then some of our own family greats, so Wally Williams and Killer Lawrence and Nate Newton. I mean, the potential to generate some serious revenue over the next on an annual basis is exponential. It's what we want it to be almost. But what is the plan? That's the key. The execution of the plan. So I have some suggestions, but we'll see. Go ahead, Cole.
But one of the things that I would say is I like the fact that AD Sykes has been willing to communicate at least with the 220 Club. Now, I love the 220 Club. I really do. I love it.
Eddie Jackson Tread lightly.
Eddie Jackson.
I see where you're going.
We might need to go full screen on Kofi. Go full screen on Kofi. You don't want to be any part of this one.
No full screen. No. Take me off of full screen.
You ain't been talking about the 220 Club.
Take me off. Take me off of full screen. Thank you. All right. But Eddie Jackson is a straight comedian, and they have a system whereby people are actively engaged and actively communicating. I mean, Rattler Nation is a real nation. We got several states and provinces, and the 220 Club is a formidable province. I mean, they was up there talking about Leela Walker gonna come out there and perform after the Orange and Green game, and so that they could charge, and you know, but Leela Walker gonna come out there and saying, and I'm telling you, I'm not going. And she ain't going nowhere, if you know Leela Walker. But seriously, seriously, that group has their level of interest, and they've leveraged their platform to communicate their interests. But they're not the only state in Rattler Nation. You know, there's a whole group of people that ain't worried about parking passes. You know, they ain't worried about where they parking and where to tailgate and how long they've been there. They ain't worried about that. They want to see what we can do to propel the program forward, you know. And the 220 Club has a good understanding. They're going to have their voice. Their voice is not going anywhere. When it comes to influence and people calling, Coach Simmons is going to answer that call because the 220 Club has been there to supply stuff for the program on a consistent basis.
Yes. Say it. They for real.
On a consistent basis. You know, I know the boosters and all that other stuff, but, you know, 220 Club has made their mark. My point is, if we are going to elevate and propel the program forward, there needs to be more communication and more engagement, and most of all, more commitment from us on a consistent basis. And, you know, we've talked about it, we've looked at it. Everything begins with conversation because conversations bring clarity. If you don't have the right conversation, you won't have the clarity you need. You know, now the 220 Club didn't ask no questions about basketball. They didn't ask any questions. All of the questions that they asked were concerning their interests. Where am I going to park? This is what I had to deal with for X amount. And they wanted to thank VP Sykes for being there and being straightforward and being transparent and having the right spirit to deal with them. Tiffany has demonstrated, AD Sykes has demonstrated a willingness to engage and communicate with at least that entity, but she communicates with that entity because they give.
That's true. Yep.
So if you want to get in the door with AD Sykes, you're going to have a check. I'm just telling you now. That's what it's going to take.
She did mention, and we can kind of hit some of these talking points from that meeting because she touched on a ton of different things that I was taking notes on. But she mentioned, and I jokingly posted on Twitter after the Ocho Cinco news came out. I said, is this the external relations person that she had spoken about at the 220 Club in jest? I mean, purely in jest. And she quickly answered back on Twitter, which is great. So I know, you know, she's engaging.
Listen,
and, you know, I know she's
Tiffany Sykes, AD Sykes is quite engaged with what's going on Twitter. I can confirm. I was on the floor of the Florida Classic and met her for the first time. And I introduced myself and was very cordial. She said, yeah, I know who you are. I follow you on Twitter. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, thank you. But, you know, I know how I put my support behind my man Angelos at the time. So I figured that was what she was referring to. But she's the AD now, so she gets my full respect. I bow down to AD Sykes. A to the man on that. But no, she knows. When the ONG Strike Zone posted that darn schedule ahead of the athletic department, AD Sykes took note of who she was like, who in the world is the ONG Strike Zone, and why are they posting the darn schedule before the athletic department?
Them boys good.
Listen,
Them boys good.
she is
Them boys
engaged.
good.
She might be
Watch
watching
out
on
for them.
tonight. If AD Sykes is watching on tonight, hey, AD Sykes, we love you, and we'd love to have you on the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I did respond.
She went back and forth with Bobby Swoop the other day on Twitter.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that.
Oh, I'm trying to tell you, she is engaged. I wouldn't have done it if I was AD, but she did it. So
good for her.
Tackling Bobby Swoop, she got a little,
Good,
you can take the child out the ghetto, but you can't take. Well, sorry. All right, next.
So one of the things that she mentioned was that there is a plan and someone in place being hired, someone to external relations to speak, someone who has a good, strong background with corporations, someone to speak to corporations, help sell spaces. Because we have talked about, I know I have talked about this. When I see these big checks get cut, for example, who was it? BP had a big $1.5 million check. I was like, you know what? Can someone upsell athletics? Do we have anybody around who can upsell athletics? Hey, BP, while you have donated $1.5 million to bring more students to your corporation, hey, let me introduce you to this person here from athletics and can show maybe help, and you can have a stadium named after you, the BP baseball ballpark over here. I don't know anything. I'm just talking. But when you get those opportunities to have corporations come in and want to be a part of the FAMU brand, we have to be able to upsell to our other entities. Just like when you go to the grocery store, they upsell you with all the stuff at the checkout line, right? And essentially, that's what we need. And so hopefully this external relations person can not only be there to be that upsell arm, but also be the one that go out and get these corporations that can bring in some dollars to the FAMU Athletic, because it can't be us alone.
Athletic
It can't be us
P3.
alone. That too.
Athletic P3. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, okay, let's hit a couple of points here, and then I want to try to open up the phone line. So one of the talking points from out of the meeting from AD Sykes had to do with first off, she mentioned initially about the cooling station that was brought in, I believe, last year. And I had a question. Did that, and do you, either of you know, did that cooling system at the end of the football season, did that system go away? Was it still?
It's a lease.
Okay.
It's a lease
Okay.
for X amount of months, which I do think, I understand, we had an affinity group that paid the cost, but those are the kind of investments I don't think we organized with folks to do it the right way, because instead of not leasing to own, by the way, either. Leasing, once you spent them $60,000 for the season, now you got to spend it again for this season. So what would have been smart was to have the purchase, right?
Yes.
Even if you have to take out a loan, you purchase that and you own it. So it's just things like that. Same thing like with the PA systems. I know we're gonna have a new PA system, scoreboard, and all that stuff coming up, right? But we've been leasing a PA system for like 12, 15 years now. A PA system, and we leased a scoreboard last year. I mean, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, even on the scoreboard for like 5 games last year. I'm just saying we have to be smarter in how we approach and plan. We have to plan and work with folks in order so that our money will go further. Which is why I always talk about in capital campaigns, for instance, right? Endowed athletic scholarships. That way, I know it takes a longer time to get the endowment up enough for it to cover the cost of the scholarship. I understand that. but you have to. It's a better investment in the long run to let people do that and build up those endowments than it is to give $1,000 here and then got to do it again 2 months from now, and then got to do it again next year 2 and 3 times. You know, once that money is spent, it's gone. Whereas when you have the investment mentality, the investment model, then that money never goes away. That money helps to make money, and that's where I'm hoping that AD Sykes will get us to.
Let's talk P3 for a second and how that would enhance where we are right now.
Let me before you jump into that, I saw a couple of comments here. One from Vaughn, who chimed in about the cooling system, the fact that it was a rental. You pointed that out, and you talked about owning it. Apparently, so as a rental is something that a lot of schools do, um, and I guess given the fact and the time of the year, does it? He says it makes more sense to possibly do the rental route or the leasing than because of the maintenance. I don't know. I mean,
Let me
just
let me be real clear. That cooling system runs, the one that we have, if my information is correct, runs about 150 grand, if that. If you rent it for 60 grand for 2 years, you bought the
was it
system.
60? Was it 60? Somebody in the chat room said
15
15.
15 a month.
Oh, okay. Thank you for
That's my
clarifying. 15 a
understanding.
month. Okay, 15 a month times 4 months. That's 60,000. Okay.
That's my
Interesting.
understanding now.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. It does kind of pay for itself after a couple, a little bit. What did we? I mean, I know we hadn't discussed. I mean, P3 wasn't necessarily part of the talking points. You've talked about P3. So I mean, let's kind of, if you want to go that route, quickly, maybe let's whatever your thoughts are on P3, and then maybe hit some more of these other talking points, and then I definitely want to get these phone lines open. So let's kind of transition to what was your, where did you want to go with the P3 conversation there, Kofi?
Well, obviously we need it. So Kelvin is the master on this. I would like him to explain to the constituents that are on the line right now as to how close we are and why it really is the answer for why or where we need to go and how we gonna get there.
Okay. I just want to bring up, Vaughn said it's 15K, but it ain't a year because we only have it for like 4 or 5 months. So it's 15K for, I think they drop it off in August, right before the camp starts, and they pick it up at the end of the season at the end of November, I think. So 15K
and
for 4 months.
For the season,
For 4
and
or 5
no
months.
sale option is available. So someone else chimed in. One company makes it. There's no sale option available. So, all right. Thank you guys. In the room.
I know that there's a Power 5 school that has one. That's not true. You can buy it. Trust me. Everything got a price.
Or you can make one.
So,
I bet it's LSU.
yeah,
I bet it's
yeah.
LSU because the man's an LSU guy.
It's definitely an SEC school. It's a couple of them actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it's a good investment. It's just, we have to. We ain't LSU. We ain't Power 5, so we have to plan out how we use the limited resources we have to maximize it, right? But in terms of P3, I mean, I've talked about it a lot, man. I'm biased because I was around when all this stuff's been developed and so forth. And the only thing I'll say is that there's a state of Florida uh, board of governors um, policy on how to do P3s. Almost any dorm that's been built on a state university campus is a P3. Some parking garages and other auxiliaries are P3s. This because the state, we always so well versed on the state don't directly fund athletics. Having a P3 athletic procurement would allow us to get the resources we talking about we need up front without having to come up with the money up front, and we can make immediate improvements with some of our current facilities while any new facilities come on board. We're talking about we talk about the stadium and the restrooms, and I think that was one of the things that were brought up, and I just happen to know they're looking for funding. I don't think we're going to get any enhancements, and AD said as much. Right now, those enhancements to the restrooms don't look like they funded, and if you don't get started in the next couple of months and you don't have the funding in place, it's not going to happen this season. Where if you had a P3 procurement process in place and folks had signed contracts, those kind of deferred maintenance type deals could be funded through the P3, and they would do those things up front while they building and doing the other things usually a part of a P3 for athletics. And to me, FAMU specifically should be interested in it because they can see what the FSU boosters have done just with Gaines Street and College Town. All those hotels, restaurants, parking, and all that, and all those student apartments, they're competing directly FSU boosters with FSU housing. Because the boosters own most of that, own the leases to. Own folks who lease in those areas. So, and it generates money year round. The key, why I always talk about P3s because people tend to think of stadiums, the stadium model where you play 4-5 games at home, and that's the investment. Whereas what you build now is multi-purpose event centers, right? So it's not just a stadium anymore, right? People have banquets and
Convention.
stuff. They have banquets. They have weddings, right? Is for when you can have day
Competitions.
parties. You can have day parties. It's so much concerts. So having the right kind of facilities, even on high school football tournament. Once we got a turf field, I would tell you the Florida High School Athletic Association came to FAMU first and asked us about hosting the 3A, 2A, and 1A and the smaller, the rural school championships here. It's hosted in Tallahassee now. It's hosted at Cox Stadium, who has a similar turf that we have. But they came to FAMU first. We don't have a pig system in house and some of the media stuff, right? That's when we had the old press box. So there was some minimum things that would have been required. So we miss out on revenue opportunities like that. So the importance of a P3 is that we can get up to speed a lot faster, and we can stop using that same line. Well, state ain't gonna give us no money. The private sector will. They got the money. They already. When we put the procurement out last time, companies did respond, and they brought financing to the table. We just never finished the process. So hopefully, since we didn't do it for the university wide, or we didn't do the phase 3. We didn't even do it for housing because we ended up going HBC loan program. So for me, having we already have a roadmap, right? We have a construction program already produced, And so I don't think it will be that long if we decide to commit to it. But with what is going on in the state of Florida in politics right now, and just the quietness of our president and board when it came specifically to athletics, and Brian, he was at the 220 Club last Wednesday too. You didn't mention the stuff he talked about. But yeah, we P3 could really help us out and help our program, our athletic programs and coaches out, and hopefully somebody can say the right thing, know the right people to make this happen.
Think about this, and I asked you this question when we talked offline the other day, Kelvin. And this is if somebody came to us, FAMU, a multimillionaire, hell, even a billionaire, came to FAMU and wanted to give a chunk of money for something right now, $10 million, FAMU, I'm offering you $10 million. Are we ready to receive that $10 million and do something with it? And if so, who would be that person to do something with it? Because there have been things that have been dropped when money has come to FAMU with the opportunity, and we weren't ready for it. Is that one of the things that when we look at what AD Sykes has before her, should that be one of the tasks and challenges to say, AD Sykes, you have to have a plan in place so that with now you brought on Chad Ochocinco, you know that you're bringing on an external relations person. Eventually, LeBron is coming to Tallahassee. Who knows? It's coming. Are you prepared? Is FAMU prepared to receive the donation from whether it be this corporate entity or individual entity, this billionaire? Are we ready to receive that money and do something with it in a timely manner?
Do something.
And the answer is, I don't know. and it requires not just AD Sykes. I think the key thing to what you pointed out in that discussion we had is that it requires the foundation, the president, and the board of trustees to be all on the same page with that vision. And not necessarily drive the vision, because they don't have vision, right? Outside of VP Sykes and maybe Dr. Friday, but I don't know. The president been around a long time, and a lot of the board has been around a long time. And when it comes to athletics, I have not seen a vision.
Nope.
So I would like to see that vision put together, and I would like for it to be communicated so that when the opportunity comes, not if, the opportunity is now. The opportunity is here. I'm telling you. So when that opportunity comes again, like the Ted Turner baseball stadium opportunity came, we don't have the shenanigans and foolishness. We can say, yes, Mr. Billionaire, whatever you want to build, we're going to take your money and we're going to build it. Period. Right now. Soon as you get it to you, here's our plan. So we have to invest in those construction programs and have them already on the shelf ready. Now. Okay, I'm done.
Kofi.
All right, I'm changing topics just a little bit there.
Well, before you change topics, let's take a break, and then we'll let you change topics, and let's do that. So let's take a short break. Come back as we change topics for a moment. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone. Hang around. We'll be back in 2.
Dishes that create a symphony for the tongue. Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Brian, Kelvin, and Kofi. Want to remind you guys, all of our shows are a part of the BCSN Pod Zone. That's where you can find all of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports Network on every podcast stream that you download and listen to. That's Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so on and so forth. Just search BCSN Pod Zone, Podzone. All right, Kof. Where were you going to transition to? Because I know we were just talking offline, but what did you want to? Where did you want to go?
Well, it's kind of going to segue into next week anyway, but we have the 2023 football schedule. We got the 2024 football schedule. And we see the addition of South Carolina State. I guess my question is the OBC in the right hands? And, quite frankly, I believe that it is, because we hadn't done anything with the game. But was it a wise idea by our leadership to let that go to somebody else?
Well, that oven is in the. I mean, it's done. I mean,
yeah, the OBC is a private.
What you mean wise? Yeah, what you mean wise? I don't think anybody just paid attention.
It was a FAMU. It was a FAMU.
Nobody paid attention. We didn't re-up it, right? It had been sitting for a while, and somebody was smart enough to
somebody bought it. Somebody bought it.
But I know there's some things going on with that particular event, in which I think that there are entities on both sides. My understanding, Jackson State already re-upped. I understand that they want us to re-up, and the payout was supposed to. And I'm gonna just put it out there. I heard the payout supposed to double. Had we re-upped, and there's a lot of people working to try to create a situation where the university athletics department is making $1 million a year off guarantees without having to do the beatdown games and so forth. So I know there's a lot of people working and talking, and so I hope that everybody get their egos out the way, because it benefits the entire athletic department, and that they'll work this thing out. I mean, there's plenty of ways to change schedules to get out of games. I know sometimes there's a fee. You can, but whatever negotiations need to happen in order for it to be beneficial for the program. If that's the beneficial for the program, then if that's the decision they come to, then now's the time. We got plenty of time to make it a signature event or not. Let's put it that way. And I'll leave it there for now.
When I look at the pros and cons of what, as like I said, we are playing in the OBC this year. And then that we passed on re-upping. Now 2024 is a loaded year. 12 games that year. We go to 12 games. Now we already had on the books 2 FBS games. One of those already being against the University of Miami. Okay. We also had on the books the MEAC SWAC Challenge on week 0, the weekend before Labor Day. So the pros and cons of taking on another home game and saying to yourself, is our we passed up on the OBC to do work by having our, because it's work. I mean, Kelvin, you said that before. When you host a home game, it's work for everybody, for all the staff. AD Sykes and all the staff is working.
All
that
hands
day.
on deck. Yeah.
You're not working if you go to the OBC. I mean, some of the staff is working. Josh Padilla and his staff, they're going to work hard because they got to promote and do all that stuff. But other people may not be working as much because the OBC is running that event. All y'all got to do is show up and be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And foundation people got to raise money and do what you're supposed to do, right? So we passed up on, I don't know what the plus minus on the money is, but I know we're having a home game to work. That's what's going to happen, right? Now the con of that is saying, is your fan base going to hit fatigue with traveling to Atlanta, traveling to Miami again, and potentially your football team having fatigue by opening up its conference schedule again with Jackson State, a team, by the way, that to date we are 0-3 against in the Simmons era. Just reality, facts. So there's cons to that. So what do you weigh? And that's a loaded question because one of the things that AD Sykes said is she's one game away from finishing 2025. So while the 2024 schedule appears to be set, she's one game away from finishing 2025. And we're playing South Carolina State. Now, what's the likelihood, Kelvin? Can you renegotiate? If we want to be real, okay, we've got South Carolina State Labor Day. But if the Miami thing was a factor, could the Miami game have been moved? Could you have potentially, how much would it have cost us to get out of the Miami game? Just if you could guesstimate, what do you think?
I don't know, because we're at FCS playing the FBS school. Typically in the past, not that we asked to do so because we didn't have other options. That was our biggest guarantee at the time, so we wouldn't have. But I do remember one situation a while back ago where you go to the FBS school as an FCS school, say, hey, we don't want to play this game. Can y'all work with us? And if they can find another opponent, which most of the time they paying, so they can find an opponent. Most of the time they didn't have an issue with doing that. So that's one approach. I imagine that you want the home games, right? You got to have a 4-5 home game slate for your fan base and the team and the coaches. Coach Simmons have said we're undefeated at home, and it's important to play in front of that crowd. We listen to Xavier Smith and Isaiah Land. And the players, they love playing in front of our crowd and our students section and stuff. So, so I get that. And they're right with that. You got to balance that. Unfortunately, those 2 FBS games we got in 24 was all. I mean, well, 3 of the games were already spoken for. We had no choice, right? Because that was done by the previous AD. So we already had the MEAC SWAC Challenge where we play Norfolk. I think, which is week 0, and we already had what was it, Troy and and Miami. Those contracts were already signed. So ideally, you got one. In order to try to work that out, if you want to be a part of OBC, you got to try to get out of one of those you got to either get out on one of those. You can't get out the MEAC SWAC Challenge, but you try to get out of one of the FBS games, and see if you can push South Carolina State to a different date. It's not difficult, it's not impossible, but it takes a lot of communication and discussion, and you need to do it now because you got over a year to make this happen.
Right. And just so we're clear, again, Jackson State had already signed to be a part of the OBC in 24 and 25. Just to put that and make it known. So that's if we signed, that's who we would have been playing. Not TSU, not Southern, not anybody else. We would have been playing Jackson State. And, I think you can see the marketing. Pay attention to the marketing. What's the marketing already? I mean, social media has. They must have the marketing budget must have kicked in March for the OBC because they're everywhere. The rival. What is it called? The family affair, the family reunion. The family reunion is
they called
Jackson
it the
State.
remix.
No, that was last year. We don't want nothing about no remixing. We gotta break
Damn,
that
so
record.
No
we
more
don't want
remix.
nothing to do with last year.
Nothing to do with last year. No more remixing. We need a brand new drink brought out. Brand new cup, brand new drink, brand new ice, everything. We can get rid of that all. New hotel stay, everything.
Relaunch. The relaunch.
The relaunch.
The
Whatever you want to call
redo,
it.
the reset.
Yeah, the reunion. The reunion is what it's called. So, yes. So, it'll be interesting. Rattler Nation. You go down. Be ready to go down to South Florida, this upcoming weekend. Yeah. Did we lose out? Yeah. Who knows? I mean, someone do the math. Maybe we'll take some time over the course of the week and do. Yeah, dollars on the table. But we're trying to make some money. All right, let's open some lines up. Let's hear from Rattler Nation here in the last 20 minutes of the show while we can. Pay attention to the phone line. Somebody, Kofi, you're on. You can type this into the chat feed. Of course, when you call in the show, get your name, where you're from. Be quick with your comments, and we want to hear from you. Open topics, whatever you want to talk about. 678-383-7623. Again, the number is 678-383-7623. I know Kofi's putting it in there in the chat. You guys let us know. Open floor. We can talk about anything. Basketball. You got any comments? If you heard the 220 Club with Coach with AD Sykes, any comments or thoughts there? Obviously, the 23-24 schedules are on the line.
Hey, while we waiting on calls, shout out to softball, baseball, and bowling. Those teams had really good weekends. The bowling team went 9-3, I think, and won the tournament there was in this weekend. The baseball team went 2-1 over the weekend, and I'm really pissed about that one though, because we jumped out like 11-0.
That football score, that was out there,
and gave up 20, and gave up 20. I mean, that's ridiculous. But anyway, but they did what you expect them to do over the weekend, and then the softball continued to impress. They continue to win. So those three coaches, those three sports, they're looking like contenders for a SWAC for a SWAC title. And we, Rattler Nation, we longing for some SWAC titles, man. We ain't got enough of them.
Yeah,
so hopefully, let's make sure. I think baseball is in town. They're so those of us in the Tallahassee area, we need to come. I think they play Florida Gulf Coast if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So this weekend we have a weekend baseball series against Florida Gulf Coast. Softball is in town hosting Jackson State. That's the beginning of conference play, beginning for softball. And remember, the change with softball, they're running very similar to baseball, where it's only one game one game Friday, one game Saturday, one game Sunday. So no longer are you going to have the double headers on Saturday. Also, women's tennis on the 10th is taking on Alabama A&M. So let's see. That's I'm trying to see if there's anybody else running this weekend. Women's tennis. So you got let's see. Women's tennis. Let's see. Their weekend series is it's probably a cluster again where they have Alabama A&M on the
Jackson
10th,
State.
And then Jackson State on the 11th, and then
And
Prairie
Prairie View
View on the 12th. On the 12th. So that's the weekend series for tennis. So hopefully the ladies can continue their strong run over
Well, they're
the
gonna see where
weekend.
they at next week.
Why? Who
This
you?
weekend,
Who are
Jackson
you?
State won the conference
this
last
weekend.
year, so
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah, this
Okay.
weekend.
So Jackson. Okay, so Jackson State is who the ladies tennis team has to look at. While
Do
we
we
wait
have
on
a
callers,
spring?
we have a spring what?
Spring
Carnival?
sports festival.
No, and that brings up something that VP Sykes talked about at that meeting. The fact that because I think somebody asked about charging for the spring game, and so the point of clarification came out that technically you cannot charge for a spring football game,
I was
but
talking about the spring sports carnival, the FAMU Spring Sports Carnival that we normally host. It's a track event.
well, yeah, and where I was going with this is saying that she actually was mentioning of trying to create and find something that would allow for people to buy a quote unquote ticket to something that would encompass maybe the spring game as well as what you're referring to as the spring carnival, where it might also buy you a ticket to the baseball game, softball game, or something of that nature. So most schools have a concert of some sort after their spring game, which thus allows them to charge whatever. Florida State, for example, Kelvin, you work there. They have a concert after their spring game. So then they're able to charge people, I don't know, $10, $15. So you go to the spring game and then you stick around for the concert. And if you want to. You may not even want like the artist. You may be like, nah, I don't want to see the artist, but I wanted to see the game. So you stay for the game and then you leave. But there's a free concert afterwards. Well, I should say it's included as part of your ticket. So that's part of it right there. So yeah. So hopefully that will be something. Yeah, that'll be something that can actually happen as part of the spring game. Again, the spring game is April the 15th. There'll be they practice 3 times this week. They take probably spring break next week off, and then they resume the 3 games in a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and then I think a couple Saturdays are included in there. So by all intents, by all accounts, day 1 went well. Day 2 is tomorrow. We know Jeremy Musa is going in as QB1. What are maybe some interesting talking points, or what are some battles or challenges you're hoping to see come out of spring, Kofi? Since we didn't get a chance to hear your take with our previous show, what are some things that you're hoping to see out of spring practice?
Well, I want to see Musa's growth and continued growth and development within the offense. I want to see the approach to the running game. I want to see some of that shift. There's enough out there. We got enough athletes to where multiple formations should bring. I think one of the things for me going into the 2023 schedule is the fact that in our games against Jackson State, we haven't scored a touchdown in 2 years.
Good point.
So there's, I mean, what was it? 7-6. That was 2 field goals and a field goal last year. No touchdown. So they have figured out something in regards to our offense that they're very comfortable with their personnel in manning up and facing. So I want to see what kind of adjustments, not that you would show all of that in the spring, but I want to see something different, because you can't keep doing what you've been doing. They know
Run the
your
ball.
offense.
Run the ball.
But Rondo, should that be the shirt? Should that be the new shirt for the? We might get in so much trouble if we get the run the ball hats and shirts going.
Run the ball,
Coach may
run the ball.
Coach may never come on the show. What I will say though is spring practice though, Kofi, is like the worst place to see something new, because nobody wants to show anything new in spring practice, right? Everybody wants to keep
I get it, but I want to see something. You got to show me something.
Returning. Well, and you're right, Brian. But to Kofi's point, and I think with this, and we'll see. You know, the thing is, we're returning so many players.
Yeah.
So it's not like they learning technique and stuff. You know, these guys have been around 2-3 years, most of them. You know, and the guys who transferred in, the 13 new guys who transferred in who are on campus right now, they coming with from programs that taught them technique, right? And they played. So this is a time where you may do a little more advanced things than you typically would do. That remains to be seen, because we do have to figure out. One thing I think we have to do is figure out our offensive line depth chart and what kind of run team we're going to be, right? And what backs get in certain situations. I think we need to know that. And our defense is stout enough and good enough where we can find that out in the spring. So I'm hoping we do that.
Yeah, I've already tried to, and I'm still reaching out to whomever within the coaching staff to try to get a roster until we see it updated on our athletics website. But we've heard that we have over 100 guys right now, which is
110.
110. Yeah. So I mean, the last time I heard of a program having 100-something guys was back in the day, the old Nebraska programs in the 90s. You know, I'm dating myself here. I don't know if everybody keeps 100, but I just always remember people talk about Nebraska football having 100-something guys, and we talk about depth chart, and you know, we essentially should have and hope to have a solid first and second line, and even some quality guys on the third line that should be challenging those on the second line. You know, that's ideally where we want to go. I mean, that was one of the things we looked at when we did the show the other day. I mean, our defensive line and secondary, we're talking 20-something guys, plus 20 guys in each unit. You know what I'm saying? You know, so that's a lot of depth.
17 offensive linemen.
I was going to say, you pointed out 17 offensive linemen. So we really, if when they do that draft, that spring draft that Coach Simmons has already said they're going to do again, to draft the orange and green, I mean, you're going to legitimately have a first and a second team, because we are that deep and there's going to be that many guys. You know, I don't know how, you know, hopefully we, you know, that those numbers stay there. Obviously, when you travel on the road, what's the number when you travel on the road?
Kelvin knows.
What? As far as a team, 63 or 65.
60,
when
I
you
think it was
visit,
65.
when you travel. Yeah.
Okay, so 65 guys. I mean, that's a solid first and second line on your depth chart when you travel on the road. And so what were you going to ask, Kofi? I know you had your hand up. What did you want to?
No, just really with the spring. High school has a spring football jamboree. They have a whole spring football jamboree. Baseball plays exhibition games. Basketball plays exhibition games. What's the deal with college football playing exhibition games or a jamboree type format?
Yeah, I think that's something that I know they opening it up for the COVID year, but I think that's something that coaches are for, and it could be revenue generating. It just got to be cleared and pushed through the NCAA.
What do you think a coach would? I mean, we're speculating here, but let's just put our hats on. If we were a coach, if we were Willie Simmons, would you rather have the spring competition game or maybe have a preseason fall game?
Spring competition.
Spring competition.
Well, like I'm saying a fall preseason game that wouldn't count on your schedule.
No.
Like what other sports have.
No.
So you would rather be able to play So you think you'd rather have a spring competition against another school?
Well, football is too physical. Yeah, football is too physical of a sport. And wear and tear of a 12 game season. And if you go to the playoffs, 14, potentially 15 game season is enough to ask those kids to put their body on the lines. So definitely not a fall preseason game. I mean, even the NFL got away from that. They reduced it.
But they're
no.
still playing. They're still playing 17 doggone games.
Money, baby, money. Right.
If you had, look at this. If you had a spring four season or a spring jamboree with FAMU, Tuskegee, Mercer, and Valdosta State. Everybody play everybody a quarter. Call it a day. You have fans from all four schools. You may have a band. You can make an event and make some money.
Well, we might need to hire you as part of that that team. VP Sykes is out there bringing in. Kofi, you got some great ideas.
Put a word in. Put a word in.
Yeah, we put a word in. Any other talking points that Kelvin? Did you investigate the restroom situation at the stadium, Kelvin? Did you get a chance to look into that?
I didn't get a chance to get by there. But that was a point that was brought up that even surprised me.
Yeah,
so I definitely want to validate that.
What we're talking about is one of the comments from the VP Sykes meeting with the 220 Club is she talked about touring the stadium and making note of the fact that the restrooms on the east side, which I believe is where the 100 and the students sit, correct? The east side of the stadium. Yeah, that the bathroom situation there are 3 men's bathrooms and 1 women's bathroom on that side. And then on the west side, which is where the press box, media box is, there's a 2 and 2. 2 men, 2 women. We actually got a call. Yeah, we actually got a call here before the show closes out.
Freeze? Did we all just freeze?
No, we got a call. So let's.
Did Brian cut us off? I mean, did Roy cut us off?
No, he didn't cut us off. I didn't think he did. We're still there. I think we got a call. Caller, what's your name? Where you from? No, so I guess we don't have a call.
Well, we can go on and dismiss. Let Roy
yeah, I mean that's
go home early.
Yeah, at this point in the show, I'm just kind of checking in here.
Did Kelvin get sniped? Is he sniped? He looks sniped.
He got sniped. Like you got sniped, and then Kelvin got sniped.
Oh, he back now.
So, yeah.
Kelvin, boy, you look like somebody from the Matrix.
Hold on. Do we have a caller on the line? No.
No,
All right.
so we can go on and dismiss. I love all y'all, man, out there in Rattler Land. Let's go.
Okay. Let's get ready to wrap it up for tonight's show. Final thoughts, final words. Kofi, I'll start with you.
No, we just need to stay engaged, stay hungry, stay focused, and looking forward to the fall and the spring game. Let's pack the spring game out and you know, let's get 10,000. Let's sell 10,000 season tickets and make it happen.
Great point. Kelvin, thoughts, comments, final words.
I am looking forward to the next 3 shows in honor of Women's Week. I think we've got some phenomenal women. We're setting up to be a part of the show in athletics, and hopefully we'll top it off with the head honcho herself sometime this month. But we'll have some more detailed discussion on some of the things we talked about tonight, because there's a lot going on that we didn't even get to. So just stay with us.
Yeah. So that open invitation, AD Sykes, is there. Again, you tell us March 29th is open. You know, next Wednesday is open. Hey, look, we'll even make a special appointment and do a special show with you and then air it on a separate date. So we want to talk to you. You know, we know you're listening. We know you're watching. It's time to come on in and be a part of the O&G. And, you know, we'll give you – we promise we won't ask you any questions about parking. Now, Kelvin may ask double questions, so – you know, but I know you got those at the 220 Club, so I mean, you'd be okay. You'd be okay. But
they coming for you, Brian. They coming to get you, buddy.
I know. I better stop. Hey, but thank you, Rattler Nation, for watching on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube, and we really want to see the improvement and growth. So whatever you can do to be a part of it, if it's donating, do that. Buying season tickets, do that. You can always donate to our show, and hopefully we will continue to use that to put out some great content. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ONG Strike Zone. Download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on the Google Play and Apple App Store. Just search My JBN or My BCSN is where you can find it. And then, of course, our show is a part of the Black College Sports Network podcast network. Go download BCSN, Pod Zone, everywhere you listen and watch or download and rate, review the podcast stream if you would. That's going to do it for tonight's show. For producer, director Roy Evans, Marcus Green, who's not with us but always working in the backgrounds. For my guys, Kelvin and Kofi, I'm Brian. Rattler Nation, be good, be smart, stay healthy, and make sure to strike, and strike again. Peace out, everybody.